Welcome to Speak English Podcast. I'm David, and I'm here with my co-host, Sarah. If you've ever felt nervous or shy when speaking English, this episode is for you.
That's right, David. Many people struggle with shyness when speaking a new language, but today we'll help you overcome that fear.
Our topic for today is Breaking the Shyness When Speaking English, Strategies to Gain Confidence. By the end of this episode, you'll have practical tips to speak English with more confidence and ease.
But before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our episodes. Now, let's get started.
So, let's start by talking about what shyness when speaking English really is. Many people feel hesitant because they're afraid of making mistakes, being judged, or simply not finding the right words. But shyness isn't a permanent state. It's something we can overcome with the right strategies.
That's a great point, David. Shyness usually comes from fear of sounding different, of mispronouncing words, or of not being understood. But the truth is, making mistakes is a natural part of learning any language, and no one expects you to be perfect.
Exactly. When we were kids, we didn't learn to speak our native language perfectly right away. We made errors, we experimented, and over time, we got better. Learning English is no different. The key is to embrace the process rather than fear it.
And one of the most effective ways to break free from shyness is to change the way we think about mistakes. Instead of seeing them as failures, we should see them as opportunities to improve. Every mistake you make is a step toward fluency.
Another important thing to understand is that most people are not paying as much attention to your mistakes as you think. They're focused on the conversation, not analyzing every word you say. Once you realize this, speaking becomes much easier.
That's right. And confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from practice and exposure. The more you use English in real situations, the more comfortable and fluent you'll become.
So, how does confidence actually work? It's not something you're born with. It's something you build. Think of it like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And just like a muscle, if you don't use it, it weakens. That's why avoiding speaking English because of shyness only makes the problem worse. The best way to become confident is to push yourself to speak, even if it feels uncomfortable at first.
Another way to overcome shyness is to prepare yourself with phrases you use often. If you practice common greetings, introductions, and small talk, you will feel much more prepared when you actually need to use them.
Yes, preparation is key. Before going into a situation where you'll need to speak English, take a few minutes to go over what you might say. This will help reduce anxiety and make you feel more in control.
And let's not forget the power of repetition. If you practice a phrase multiple times, it starts to feel natural. That's why listening to English daily and repeating phrases aloud is so effective.
Exactly, David. Repetition and exposure are crucial. The more familiar you become with English sounds and structures, the less intimidating speaking will feel.
So, now that we understand what shyness is and why it happens, let's move on to how we can actually overcome it with practical techniques.
Great! Next, we'll demonstrate a real-life situation and show you how small changes can make a big difference in your confidence.
Let's illustrate what we've been discussing with a real-life example. Imagine you walk into a coffee shop and you want to order a coffee in English. But as you step up to the counter, you suddenly feel nervous and your mind goes blank. What do?
That's a situation many learners face. Instead of panicking, let's break it down. First, think of a simple phrase you've practiced before. Something like, "Hi, can I have a coffee, please?" Keeping it short and familiar makes it easier to say.
And if you ever forget a word, don't panic. Instead of freezing up, just find another way to say it. For example, if you forget coffee, you can say a hot drink or point to what you want.
That's a great tip, David. Native speakers do this all the time. They rephrase things, use gestures, and adapt when they forget a word. You don't have to be perfect. You just need to keep the conversation going.
So, practicing short, everyday phrases Using a confident tone and staying calm even if you forget a word are key to sounding more natural when speaking English.
Exactly. And next, we'll talk about the benefits of overcoming shyness and how it can open doors for you in different areas of life.
Now that we've seen how small changes in our approach can make a big difference, let's talk about why overcoming shyness when speaking English is so important. The benefits go way beyond just language skills.
That's right, David. First, gaining confidence in English opens up new opportunities, whether it's in your career, your studies, or even your social life. Being able to communicate freely allows you to connect with more people and expand your horizons.
Exactly. Imagine applying for an international job or attending a business meeting in English. If you can express yourself clearly and confidently, you'll make a much better impression. Employers value strong communication skills.
And it's not just about work. Travel becomes a lot more enjoyable when you're not afraid to ask for directions, order food, or have casual conversations with locals. You experience the culture in a much deeper way.
That's a great point, Sarah. Speaking English confidently also helps in academic settings. If you're studying abroad or taking online courses in English, you'll feel more comfortable participating in discussions and asking questions.
And let's not forget about making friends. So many friendships start with small conversations. When you're not afraid to speak, you can meet people from all over the world and build meaningful relationships.
Absolutely. Another important benefit is how it changes your mindset. Overcoming shyness in English teaches you to be more adaptable and resilient. You become more comfortable stepping out of your comfort zone in other areas of life as well.
That's so true. And the more you practice, the more natural it feels. Speaking English fluently isn't just about learning vocabulary and grammar, it's about feeling at ease while using the language.
Right. And when you finally break free from that fear, you'll realize that most of the barriers were in your own mind. People aren't judging you as much as you think. They appreciate your effort.
Exactly, David. Once you stop worrying about perfection, you'll start enjoying conversations more. Instead of stressing about mistakes, you'll focus on expressing yourself and understanding others.
And let's not forget, every time you overcome a fear, you grow as a person. Becoming confident in English isn't just about speaking. It's about developing a stronger, more self-assured version of yourself.
That's a powerful message, David. And now that we know the benefits, let's get into the practical steps. How exactly can you practice and become more confident every day? Let's talk about that next.
Now that we understand the benefits of overcoming shyness, let's go over some practical steps you can follow to build confidence in speaking English. The key is to have a structured approach that helps you improve gradually.
Exactly. And the first step is daily exposure to English. Listen to podcasts, watch TV shows, or even change your phone's language to English. The more familiar you are with the language, the less intimidating it will feel.
That's a great start. Step 2 is shadowing, which means repeating what you hear immediately after a native speaker. This helps you practice pronunciation, rhythm, and fluency. You can do this with movies, audiobooks, or even our podcast.
Step 3 is speaking out loud daily, even if you're alone. Describe what you're doing, talk to yourself in the mirror, or read aloud. The more you hear your own voice in English, the more natural it will feel.
Step 4 is finding a speaking partner. Practicing with a friend, tutor, or language exchange partner will give you real conversation experience. Even talking to AI assistants or recording yourself can be helpful.
That's right. And step 5 is thinking in English. Instead of translating everything in your head, try to form thoughts directly in English. This speeds up your speaking ability and helps you sound more natural.
Step 6 is preparing key phrases for common situations. If you know you'll need to introduce yourself or order food, practice those phrases in advance so you don't hesitate when the moment comes.
And step 7 is embracing mistakes. Don't let fear stop you. Every mistake is an opportunity to improve. Instead of worrying about getting everything right, focus on communicating your message.
Step 8 is recording yourself speaking. This helps you track your progress and identify areas to improve. You might be surprised at how much better you sound after just a few weeks of practice.
That's a great tip, David. And finally, step 9 is celebrating small wins. Every time you successfully hold a conversation, learn a new phrase, or speak without hesitation, recognize your progress and keep going.
Absolutely. Consistency is the most important part. If you follow these steps regularly, speaking English will become easier and more natural. Next, let's talk about some common mistakes people make and how to avoid them. Now that we have a step-by-step guide to practicing, let's talk about some common mistakes learners make when trying to overcome shyness in English, and how to avoid them.
That's a great idea, David. One of the biggest mistakes is waiting until you feel ready before speaking. The truth is, you'll never feel 100% ready. Confidence comes from action, not from waiting.
Exactly. Another mistake is focusing too much on grammar while speaking. Of course, grammar is important, but stopping every few seconds to correct yourself will make your speech unnatural. It's okay to make small mistakes.
Right. And another common mistake is speaking too quietly because of fear. If you mumble or lower your voice, people may ask you to repeat yourself, which can make you even more nervous. Speak up with confidence.
That's so true. Another mistake is avoiding conversations completely. Many learners choose to listen and read, but never actually practice speaking. The only way to improve is to use the language actively.
And here's another one, sticking only to textbook phrases. Memorizing sentences is helpful, but real conversations are unpredictable. You need to be comfortable improvising and adapting to different situations.
Absolutely. Another issue is translating everything in your head. If you try to think in your native language first, it slows you down and makes speaking more difficult. Instead, try to form thoughts directly in English.
Great point, David. And a mistake I often see is being too afraid of native speakers. Many learners think natives will judge them, but most people appreciate the effort and will be patient with you.
Exactly. Another big mistake is comparing yourself to others. Everyone learns at their own pace, and fluency takes time. Focus on your own progress instead of worrying about how good others are.
That's such an important reminder. And finally, one of the worst mistakes is giving up too soon. Learning a language takes time, and there will be ups and downs. The key is to stay consistent and keep pushing forward.
Well said, Sarah. Avoiding these common mistakes will help you improve much faster. Now, let's give our listeners a fun challenge to help them practice and gain confidence. Now that we've covered common mistakes, let's put everything into action. We have a special challenge for you that will help you break through shyness and start speaking English with more confidence. Are you ready?
This challenge is simple but powerful. For the next 7 days, we want you to speak English out loud for at least 5 minutes every day. It doesn't matter if you're alone, just speak.
That's right. You can describe your day, talk about a topic you enjoy, or even repeat sentences from this podcast. The goal is to get comfortable hearing your own voice in English.
And here's the fun part. We encourage you to record yourself each day. It might feel strange at first, but by the end of the week, you'll be able to compare your first and last recordings and see your progress.
That's a great tip, Sarah. And if you want to take it a step further, try shadowing. Listen to a native speaker and repeat their words, copying their tone and pronunciation as closely as possible.
Yes. And for those who feel ready, challenge yourself to have a real conversation in English. It could be with a friend, a tutor, or even a language exchange partner online. Just 5 minutes of speaking will make a huge difference.
And don't worry about mistakes. If you forget a word or struggle with a sentence, just keep going. The point is to train your brain to speak without overthinking.
Exactly. And to keep yourself motivated, set a small reward for completing the challenge. Maybe treat yourself to your favorite snack or watch an episode of a show you love, but only after you complete your daily 5 minutes.
That's a great idea. And we'd love to hear about your experience. If you take on this challenge, leave a comment or share your progress. Let's support each other on this journey.
Yes, remember, confidence is built step by step. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. Now let's wrap up with a quick summary and final words of encouragement.
We've covered a lot today, from understanding shyness to practical techniques, common mistakes, and even a challenge to help you gain confidence. The key takeaway? The more you practice, the more natural speaking English will become.
That's right. Confidence doesn't come from waiting. It comes from taking action. Every time you speak, even if it's not perfect, you're improving. And that's what really matters.
We'd love to hear from you. Have you ever struggled with shyness when speaking English? What strategies have helped you? Share your experiences in the comments. We read every single one.
And if today's episode helped you, let us know. If you've ever hesitated to speak but are now ready to take action, tell us in the comments.
In fact, if you made it this far, that means you're truly dedicated to improving your fluency. So, let's do something fun. Comment confidence below so we know you watched until the end.
And remember, you're not alone in this journey. So many people are working on their English skills just like you. Let's support and encourage each other in the comments.
If you enjoyed this episode and found it useful, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps more people discover this podcast and join our community of English learners.
And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. We're here every week with new tips and conversations to help you improve your English.
Keep practicing, keep speaking, and remember, you're capable of more than you think. Keep pushing forward, and soon, speaking English will feel completely natural.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, keep practicing and stay confident. Bye for now.